What up, YouTube? A stand-alone show now. Welcome back to the Cardboard Critics Sports Card Podcast for episode number 13, lucky number 13, where we talk hot cards, cold cards, and cards that have investment potential heading forward. Thanks for joining the two of us. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Hollywood. That's the Legend of Lawrence, as I like to call him, Joe Nasty. To my right, your left. Let's talk cardboard, specifically which ones are spontaneously combusting because that Hansel is so hot right now. And the ones that are woolly mammoth trapped in a thick block of ice cold. Of course, probably one of our favorite segments, which cards have the potential, or not, for you to get rich or die trying. That'll be at the very end of this week's show. So let's start with the smoke shows
So hot.
from the past week. So hot right now. Sam Darnold. His 2018 Don Russ Optic Downtown rookie card in a PSA 10 is up 37% over the past week to $500. It was about $350 about a week ago. Obviously, everyone was expecting Darnold and McCarthy. Everyone was expecting Darnold to pass the torch to McCarthy at some point during the season, but McCarthy, of course, has that season-ending meniscus injury. So Darnold is now the guy in Minnesota, presumably for this year. Tom Brady, where are you at? What has Darnold done in his career? 59.7% completions, 63 touchdowns, 56 picks for a rating of 78. He has thrown for 3,000 yards one time in his entire career. Last season, his last full season, was never. He never played more than 13 games in a season. He's played 28 games in the past 3 years combined. I will give it to the guy. The Panthers had a winning record when he was playing until he got hurt. The previous year before that, I think his team also had a winning record when he was playing. But the stats didn't, blow your mind. He's got some weaponry in Minnesota. He's got Justin Jefferson from the X position, which means he's not going to have to throw it necessarily outside the numbers as much, which is kind of where most quarterbacks that, let's be real, aren't good throwers are comfortable. Jordan Addison doesn't look like it's a serious injury that he got carded for. Of course, Hawkinson coming back. I think this is kind of as good of a scenario as Darnold could possibly have in order to have a good year. But in my opinion, to spend $500 on his rookie downtown, I'm a little bit leery on it, but I can honestly see it going both ways. I understand why people are doing it. What are your thoughts on Darnold going into this year and this downtown?
Yeah, so I personally think Sam Darnold's pretty talented. He was at USC. He basically carried a terribly coached program. I know USC has all the talent in the world, and you say USC, and you think, well, can't be that big. But Clay Helton was their coach, and he dragged those teams to successful seasons. So I'm a big Sam Darnold guy, at least coming out of college. The issue is he got drafted by the Jets. And almost the second he got drafted by the Jets, in that moment, I thought to myself, he's a pretty special guy out of Oceanside, of course, but this generally doesn't go well for most people. And that's exactly what happened. He went to the Jets. He went to Carolina, who we now see is a pretty putrid organization for the time being. Coached by, wasn't he coached by Matt Rule at the time, too?
I believe so,
Who was in over his head in the NFL game. So, he's just had no successful situations until last year. He went to QB rehab in San Francisco, got some tutelage under Kyle Shanahan, got in there, had a little bit of success, even in limited moments. And you talk about the situation he's in now. Kevin O'Connell, his main play caller / head coach, comes from, the Sean McVay coaching tree, who comes from the Kyle / Mike Shanahan tree as well. So, in essence, he's got a pretty comfortable situation as well.
I need to turn the air conditioning off.
Yes. Well, I'm just freezing. That's why I put on this pullover.
Go ahead.
All this to say, I'm a Sam Darnold guy. Now, would I pay that amount for that card? No, I would not. But in terms of win-losses and success in a tangible way on the field, I'm tepidly optimistic.
Okay. Yeah, I understand why people are paying this for this downtown. I think he has every possibility to have the best season of his career, but I think this will also be this will be, as long as Darnold doesn't get hurt.
Right.
This season will be the end all be all for Sam Darnold.
I agree.
We will know if Sam Darnold is a guy. I'm not going to say he's the guy. Obviously, he's not the guy.
Right.
We'll know if he is a legitimate starter in the NFL or not, because he's got a ton of talent around him this year. We'll see what happens. But moving into our second hot card of the week, let's look at Corbin Carroll, the outfielder for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of course, won Rookie of the Year last year. His 2023 Topps Chrome base card in a PSA 10, as well as his more sought-after 2019 Bowman Draft Chrome first autograph in a PSA 10. I should have had that card up here. I had it. It's sitting right there. It's the purple one, numbered to 250. But the Topps Chrome base card is up 57.7% over the past week to $23. And his Bowman Draft first autograph is up 7.7% over the past week. It's now $350 for that card. What has Corbin Carroll done in the past month? He has gone 22 for 89, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, 3 steals with a 340 OBP. He has just 12 homers the entire year. 7 of them have come in the past month.
That's crazy.
And coincidentally, the Diamondbacks have gone like 21-4 in the past month. Corbin on the season, 309 OBP, 12 homers, 48 RBIs, 21 steals. I'm surprised at the steal numbers, although, let's be honest, the steal numbers would be way higher if he wasn't hitting 200 for the majority of the season.
You got to get on base.
Yeah. But look, here's where I'm at with Corbin Carroll. The talent is very obvious. He's in an organization that wants to win, that's going to put talent around him. They're clearly a great team. Obviously went to the World Series last year, upset the heavy favorite Dodgers in the playoffs. I'm buy all day on Corbin Carroll at these prices. I mean, he's too special of a player. I mean, this is a guy that if he doesn't hit 190 for the first 3 months of the season, which was, let's be honest, he was lost. His swing looked it looked disjointed if you look at his swing last year compared to this year. But if you look at it now, they've kind of found the way to fix it. The mechanics look right again. Corbin looks right again. He's going to be like a 30-50 machine for years. I think this Bowman first autograph for $350 in a PSA 10 is a steal right now. What are your thoughts, Corbin Carroll? Joe?
Big agree. Yeah, he's great. These guys are top prospects for a reason. He's red hot. As you said, it coincides perfectly with the Diamondbacks just taking off. Like, you'd look at the division, you're like, what went wrong with the Dodgers? Have they played 500 baseball? They have. But the Padres and the D-backs don't lose for the most part, except for today. But Carroll's been amazing, and he stepped up while the MVP candidate, Ketel Marte, was out for the past week or so. So Corbin Carroll continued what was this hot stretch for himself, but the team needed it. Ketel Marte is back finally, and that could make the Diamondbacks even more dangerous as we head into the stretch run of the MLB season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Corbin Carroll heating up at the perfect time. This is going to be, look, no matter what, no matter how the NL West pans out, I can tell you that no one wants to play any of those 3 teams.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
In the playoffs. Honestly, I think you'd rather play the Brewers than the Padres,
especially without Yelich,
or the Diamondbacks. Yeah, especially without Yelich. I'm not going to go out and say I'd rather play the Phillies, but would you rather? I'd rather play the Braves than the Diamondbacks.
Well, the Braves are precariously hanging on to a wild card spot.
Yeah, they are. It's close. It's very close. But we're going to move now into our cold card segment. And leading off this week is Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. His 2020 Prism base card in a PSA 10 was down 33.9% over the past week. It is now $59 a card. It was a $90 card a week ago. I'm not sure how it falls so fast. But man, Jalen Hurts is in a world of hurts. What did he do in 2023? He threw for 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 15 picks. 15 picks was a huge uptick. It was almost double the amount of picks from the previous year. He had an 89 rating. He rushed for 605 yards and 15 touchdowns. He's obviously the value of Jalen Hurts is to manage the game but be a dual threat runner and get into the end zone with his feet while minimizing the mistakes. Of course, they made the Super Bowl in 2022. They started last year 10-1.
Underwhelming, though.
Underwhelming. And they ended up finishing 11-6. They went just 1-5 in their last 6 games and got absolutely destroyed by Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks in the wild card round. This might come as a surprise, but I think Jalen Hurts is actually in for a big rebound season. And the reason I think that is because at the end of the day, I think I think the Eagles, I think the Eagles have too much talent to kind of let this happen again, to let that end of the season, whatever the heck happened, to happen again. Of course, they have A.J. Brown, who is an absolute beast, Devonta Smith, Saquon, but let's look at their division. The Giants, are they good? No. The Commanders made a lot of adjustments, have a lot of new players. Are they good? Probably not.
Maybe like a late wild card team.
Yeah. The only team that really poses a threat, in my opinion, in that division is Dak and the Dallas Cowboys, who we know could very well win 12 games in the regular season, and then Dak will throw 4 interceptions in the first half in the playoffs, and the Cowboys will lose by 30, and Jerry Jones will have his head on fire. So call me crazy, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a big year. I think we're going to see his card prices I don't know if we're going to see them get back to like Super Bowl highs, but I think they're going to start coming back. That's my opinion. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts being a cold card?
I really don't know what to make of Jalen Hurts. Like, as he came out of Alabama, I mean, remember, he famously got replaced at halftime with a championship game because of his struggles.
That's true.
By Tua, who we'll talk about later. That's called synergy. I didn't love him coming out of Oklahoma, even with that Lincoln Riley machine and the numbers he's able to put up in their modified air raid offense. And then he has the Super Bowl year, and he looked like Superman. He was efficient. He was throwing the ball and pushing the ball downfield while using his legs. And then all of a sudden he becomes the front and center face of what, to me, I think this isn't really arguable, was the most disappointing team in the entire NFL last year. To start 10-1.
For the last 6 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't look good. Like, first they lost those games, but to start 10-1, and like I said, it was unconvincing. They didn't really look the part.
Yeah.
And that playoff performance was bad. To me, getting Saquon Barkley doesn't move the needle. Okay. I'm sorry, it's 2024. A running back's not pushing you over the top. It's a complementary piece.
It depends. It depends. See, here's the thing, is I think there's a difference between someone like Saquon and someone like Derrick Henry.
And what? How so?
Because Saquon, you're really relying on the big play.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry is more like, we can smash mouth you.
He's a sledgehammer.
Right? Or if you have like Marshawn Lynch, which, shout out beast mode. It changes the dynamic of the team, right?
Yeah, but they've had dynamism in the backfield, with multiple people.
Does Jalen Hurts need more explosiveness out of the backfield, or does he need more hard-nosed football out of the backfield? That's the question.
I think he needs more reliability. I think the bigger issue is what they lost up front in Jason Kelce.
Yeah, that is a big one.
Their biggest strength was always that offensive line. Lane Johnson is also aging and probably going to retire after this year in all likelihood.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce is now retired. Mm-hmm. I think that's where you see the cracks in the foundation.
Yeah.
Less the piece. And A.J. Brown,
I hear you.
Amazing physically. He was complaining last year.
Yeah.
Like there are fractures in this masterpiece.
There are. I just think the talent is there, and their only competition is the Cowboys, realistically. And you can now pick up one of Jalen Hurts' one-of-one NFL shields out of like National Treasures or something for like under, I want to say I saw one the other day for like $10,000, which honestly, that card Super Bowl week a couple years ago was probably like, I don't know, 50 to 70 grand, something crazy like that.
He seems like a lovely young man. He's handsome. His agent is a woman. I think it's the biggest deal ever negotiated by a female. Like, he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, but that went well for Trevor Bauer. But we're going to move into our next cold card.
Jalen Hurts doesn't seem like a dick. So.
He seems like a chill dude.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the same about some of the fans of that team.
No, quite the opposite.
But we're going to move to our next cold card of the week, and it's Jarren Duran. This one kind of surprised me. I guess it kind of surprised me, kind of not. But Jarren Duran, he's of course center fielder for the Boston Red Sox. His 2020 Bowman Chrome first autograph in a PSA 10 was down 34% over the past 2 weeks. It's $126 if you want to pick that card up today. It was about $190 a couple of weeks ago. This card was actually selling. There were, I believe, 2 sales of this card at $250, kind of around the All-Star game, which obviously he won All-Star MVP, I think.
Right, yes he did.
Of course, he recently just got suspended for his anti-gay slur. Somebody in the crowd said like he needed like a
He needs a tennis racket to hit.
he needed a tennis racket to hit, and he said like,
Which is pretty soft.
Shut the F up, you effing anti-gay slur. He insert anti-gay slur here.
Right.
What has Jarren Duran done this year, though? He has a .290 average with 15 homers, 61 RBIs, 30 steals. He plays, for the most part, very, very good defense. He has a lot of speed in the field. He has a 6.6 WAR. That is phenomenal. That is a phenomenal WAR. Obviously, he's very young. I think Jarren Duran is one of the brightest young stars in all of baseball. Rarely we see people hit for average and power these days. Obviously, stolen bases have seen, let's say, a 1.5x uptick with the bases being bigger and pitchers only being able to throw over twice.
Yep.
I think Jarren Duran, I get it. People want to get out of it for this whole slur thing, which is probably why the card is down. But honestly, this type of stuff happens all the time. And people are not going to remember this in 2-3 years, honestly, when Jarren Duran is hitting over 300 with 30 homers and 90 RBIs and 50 stolen bases in a season. I think Jarren Duran is actually one of the biggest steals in the entire hobby in all of baseball cards. What are your thoughts on Jarren Duran being cold? Would you buy into his stuff? How are you feeling about his performance and whether this scandal is going to affect him? How long do you think this scandal is going to follow him or affect him for?
I think we're on the exact same page because this, for sure, is only down to him being an enormous jerk in that moment. And it was terrible to say, and he seemed a little too comfortable to be spitting it out in a public place.
Yeah.
But, look, in terms of his baseball production, he's becoming a star. All-Star Game MVP. And up until that moment in the batter's box, he was on fire.
Yeah.
So, if you don't care about character in your collection, that's a lot of C's, you need to buy in right now. Because when he comes back, he is back. But as we get farther and farther away in the 24-hour news cycle, it, for better or for worse, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to fade out of existence. He's going to take off. His value is going to go way high. He is a superstar on the baseball field.
100%.
And if you can play, you will get that opportunity. Yeah. Michael Vick went to federal prison for pretty heinous acts and then got back out there on the football field because he was performing.
Yeah.
So this is not a good thing that he did, but if you really don't care about character, like I said, in the things that you own, then you should buy in right now because he's only going upwards on the baseball field.
Yeah, I think Jarren Duran is 100% a buy. The fact that that's a cold card right now, Jarren Duran, he honestly kind of gives me like young, I don't want to say like young Mookie vibes, but he's kind of putting up similar numbers to be like a 300 hitter with pop, with speed, with elite defense, right?
I think it's a little less power for Duran.
A little
bit
maybe.
more base stealing. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean like equivalent levels of maybe talent at that age,
Sure.
would we say?
Yeah.
So we're going to move now into probably our favorite category of the show, and that's our invest segment. We have 3 cards, for the most part, that we want to talk about. I believe it's 3 in our invest segment. The first we're going to talk about is, and remember, we're not always investing in these cards. We just like to talk about them because we see that they're priced interestingly in the market and can kind of go either way. But we're going to talk first about Tua Tagovailoa, of course, quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. His 2020 Prism Silver PSA 10 is actually a pretty reasonable price at the moment. I believe it's like $500 or $600. I don't have the graphic in front of me. We'll throw it up on the screen, but I think it's like $500, around there, something like that. What did Tua do last year? He had 4,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 picks, with a 101.1 rating, which is pretty high, honestly.
That's good.
I think he can improve the interception total a little bit. We could come down a little bit there, Tua.
Yeah.
But he obviously has some huge weapons around him. Obviously, he's got the cheetah.
Huge production, not in stature.
Yeah. No, not in stature. Yeah. It might be one of the smallest teams.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, obviously he's got Tyreek Hill as kind of the elephant in the room. It's interesting, Tyreek Hill and this whole Tyreek Hill, Noah Lyles back and forth, I find it funny. I commented on some sort of post with ESPN, and I was like, ESPN, you need to pay-per-view this, pay them to make this happen.
I'd watch that.
And the winner of that race gets the Instagram handle Cheetah on Insta, because let's be real, Tyreek Hill is probably not actually a cheetah per se. He's not the cheetah. Tyreek Hill is probably, if he raced Noah Lyles, Tyreek Hill would be like the cheetah that's been in the zoo for 8 years and like hasn't
A little stiff.
And yeah, he's a little stiff and like can only run like 50 yards.
He lounges more than he runs.
And Noah Lyles would smoke this guy in 100. A 40, honestly, who cares? Because that's not what Tyreek initially challenged him to. But anyways, we're besides the point.
Tangent.
Tangent. What are Tua's homies from the 2020 class doing? Other quarterback contemporaries. Remember, Tua is like a $500 to $600 card right now. What's Joe Burrow selling for? $2,100 in a PSA 10. Joe Burrow is 4 times as expensive as Tua. Herbert is twice as expensive as Tua, $1,100 for Herbert. And Jalen Hurts is about $700, so about $200 more than Tua. Buffalo, the Jets, New England, honestly, it could be an interesting division this year.
Yeah.
It really could be. I think the one team we can all agree that will probably finish at the bottom of that division is probably the Patriots.
Yes.
But the Dolphins are explosive. They scored the second most points in all of football last year. They have the 8th easiest schedule in the NFL this year. Who knows what to expect from Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
Who knows what to expect with Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs?
Right.
I think it's interesting. I think Tua could be an interesting investment, in my opinion. At $500, I don't see the issue with taking a flyer on this, honestly. That's just my thought. I think the talent is there. If the defense can hold teams to under 30 a game, then the Dolphins are going to win a lot of games. What are your thoughts on Tua?
I'd like you to do it in a yes or no question.
What do you mean? You want me to ask you a yes or no question?
Mm-hmm. On Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa, PSA 10 silver rookie for $550. Let's say yes or no.
No. So, he's going to put up numbers.
That was easy.
Yeah. I just needed to format it how I wanted. He's going to put up numbers. He's going to have big games. I'm not debating that.
Yeah.
But he's also going to put up just as many stinkers. You said the interception numbers. I was actually pretty surprised about that over 100 QB rating. Mm-hmm. And then, do you really think they're going to win anything when it matters? This is a guy who's from Hawaii, who went to school in the South, who plays in Miami. You saw what happened when they went first round to Kansas City in chilly temperatures.
Yeah.
They don't do anything. So what they need to do, and I don't think this is going to happen, they need to roll over the league with that 8th easiest schedule, mm-hmm. and they need home field advantage all throughout. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, I don't see anything happening. And when nothing happens in his postseason career, I don't see any value with his cards over time. So, no, I think he, again, is fun. I think that team is a good Sunday Night Football watch every now and then. Mm-hmm. They're going to hang 70 like they did on the Broncos last year, once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of like total value and where he stacks up in that class, not even close for me.
Okay. I think that's reasonable, and I think your arguments are totally reasonable.
Oh, boy.
But. No, it's not a but. I'm not saying a but. I'm on the fence with Tua. I'm not saying buy it. I'm not. I'm just saying I understand. I understand why people are buying it. You know, if I have a gun to my head, which hopefully that doesn't happen, but if I have a pen to my head, I'm probably not buying it either.
Oh, okay.
But I just think it's an interesting price compared to his contemporaries. Yes. Next, we're going to talk about Julio Rodriguez, of course, center fielder for the Mariners, who has had an abysmal season, let's be honest. It's also been riddled with injuries, but his 2019 Bowman Chrome first autograph in a PSA 10 is down 64% over the past year. $683 was the last sale. Keep in mind, $683 PSA 10, that's like essentially Adley Rushman prices-ish. Adley's maybe $100 less. But it was a $1,300 card a year ago. Of course, J-Rod, I think he finished second in AL MVP voting last year with a huge second half.
I'll have to double check that.
The year before that, this is 2 years in a row where he's gone 30-30, I think. It might have been like 30-40 or something. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but J-Rod has been horrible, let's be honest, this entire year. Yet somehow, the Seattle Mariners, carried by their pitching, are 3 games above 500. They're still within striking distance of a wild card spot they're within striking distance of winning a division, hypothetically.
They are, technically.
But in my opinion, Julio Rodriguez is too much talent to be a $683 PSA 10 first Chrome autograph. That's my thoughts. Am I buying it right now? To be honest with you, I probably would. This is one that I probably would, because the power potential is there, the speed potential is there, the stardom. Let's be honest, some guys just have that je ne sais quoi. They have that sparkle to them.
Oh my God, yeah.
Where the lights just shine a little brighter with them. Sure, J-Rod has that.
I agree.
And so that sort of talent level, we've seen him hit like 320 plus with 25 bombs for like months in a row, right? I think his second half last year was absolutely ludicrous. Steals a lot of bases, plays for a team that's going to win a lot of games with that pitching staff. Hopefully Arozarena keeps helping them from the offensive side. I think Julio's a buy. What are your thoughts on J-Rod?
Do you want to do that as a yes or no question also?
J-Rod Show 44, yes or no? Yes.
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 Yes. It's a down year. He's dealt with the injuries, but he's a star. You said, say it again for me. He has a certain what?
He has that je ne sais quoi sparkle, guys.
And his eyes are so beautiful. They really are. You were talking about the twinkle, and that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
God, he is something.
He is something.
But I'm not worried about this year. What I'm more worried about is how the Mariners are not really supporting him with that lineup. I was worried about the roster construction. I was a little bit worried about how they were stripping parts around him heading into the year. Yes, they got a Arozarena, but obviously that's not making a difference. They're potentially wasting some really prime years of a really special talent. The injuries did not help.
Well,
but the offense is anemic.
Can you really call it prime years? He's like 23, right?
I know, but
I feel like his prime years, he has like 10 more years of prime years.
As I wrote out that note, I was like, is he really? But like, when you're this young, you never know. He's already getting hurt at 23 then.
True.
So like, you don't really know what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yes, your prime years truly are like 26, 27. But who knows? And while he's fresh and recovering well physically, not this year, this is the time, especially before he gets old and cynical. So that's why I call him his prime-ish. They're just wasting a lot of really talented time for a truly special player. That's my issue.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting the Mariners to do more in the offseason.
Right.
And they just kind of didn't.
But they just didn't.
Look, they tried at the trade deadline, obviously.
They did.
But it also coincided with how are the Astros like starting the year like 10 games under 500, you know? And so they saw the management was like, oh wow, we can actually beat the Astros. Let's press the hype all in button, and now they're 4 games back.
But you can't be all in mid-season
No,
while you strip parts in the preseason.
Yeah, exactly. They stripped parts in the offseason, essentially. And then they went all in mid-season. Like, you have the most talented player under the age of 25 in baseball, probably. Surround him with protection. Don't make him be the only person and put the whole world on his shoulders.
And then they crack.
Yeah, and look, I think J-Rod's a huge talent. He's a buy. He's the type of guy that has future Hall of Fame potential. That's the type of potential that J-Rod carries. But our last invest is kind of like an entire team. And we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons today. And specifically, we're going to talk about Bijan Robinson, of course, their running back, their second-year running back, and Drake London, their star wide receiver. We're not going to talk about Kirk Cousins, although he is involved in this for obvious reasons.
He'll come out.
But Bijan Robinson's silver rookie card in a PSA 10, his Prism rookie card, is $114 right now. Drake London, that same card, his PSA 10 silver Prism, is $79 right now. The Atlanta Falcons have the easiest schedule in the NFL by a mile. And when I say a mile, it's like, it is not even close.
Would you say it's a country mile?
No. Oh, it's like it's a global
Wow.
mile. This might be, honestly, in recent memory, I don't know a schedule that is easier, that I've seen, that is easier than what the Atlanta Falcons have this year. Let's just recap here.
Okay.
Week 2, they're at the Eagles.
Which,
really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough game. Week 3, they host the Chiefs. They will probably lose that game.
Probably.
But here is their schedule after that.
Okay.
Okay?
Hit me.
Host the Saints.
Derek Carr, whatever.
Host the Bucks.
Could be solid.
They go to Carolina, where
Terrible.
they will destroy the Panthers, most likely. They host the Seahawks.
New coach, who knows?
They go to Tampa Bay.
Same deal.
They host the Cowboys.
Tough.
They go to New Orleans. They go to Denver. They host the Chargers.
Should have a bump.
Yeah. Then they go to the Vikings.
Who knows?
And then listen to these last 4.
Yeah, this is...
They're at the Raiders. They host the Giants. They go to the Commanders. And to finish the season, they host the Panthers. That slate, especially the last month of the season, we could be in line. If Kirk Cousins recovers from this Achilles, we could be in line for some crazy numbers from Bijan Robinson and Drake London. I think both of these cards are big-time buys right now. The opportunity ahead of them is too high. Always scary investing in a running back. But Bijan has publicly declared that he's gonna have 2,000 all-purpose yards this year, I think.
Okay.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I know that's crazy to say. But what are your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons? Are we pressing the invest button on the Atlanta Falcons? Bijan, Drake London, yes or no? Go.
I like them individually. I do. Drake London's a freak athlete, and Bijan does have some amazing swivel in his hips. I just don't know if I buy the overall package, which is weird to say. They had a very expensive offseason. They actually, just this past week, beefed up their defense in a big way.
Yeah.
Matthew Judon.
They did.
And then, who was it? Was it Justin Simmons? Yes.
Yeah, Judon was a huge pickup.
Judon, Justin Simmons, the former player from the Broncos, very good defensive player.
Yeah.
Of course, they signed Kirk Cousins and then drafted another QB. So it all seems to be sort of on the back of Kirk Cousins. Right?
Yeah.
So do you believe in him coming off the Achilles?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure I do, but I do believe in that terrible division. Very much so.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I believe in Kirk Cousins and Bijan and Drake London from weeks 1 until the end of the regular season for the most part.
Yeah.
And then I'm probably selling these cards because Kirk Cousins in the playoffs We're not riding that train again.
Would you
I'm
say,
just saying
come
that.
holiday season, you're going to be like, hey, why don't you go get someone a Bijan Robinson card? In this
Yeah, exactly. Like Merry Christmas. Here's Bijan Robinson and
you like
Drake London.
Oh. Whew, almost
So
playoff time.
that's just me. I think it's an invest for now, and then I think it is a quick flip, turnaround, sell it.
Kirk needs to stay healthy, though.
He does. Although Penix has looked
Stiff?
Stop. Penix has a lot of talent. Let's be honest. Dual
Well,
threat. That team could be pretty crazy scary with Penix.
Who did they hire as their head coach?
With Penix behind center, but he's going to look up the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, you do you.
I am going to wrap things up.
Oh, that's right.
Because
They hired the former Rams D coordinator, Raheem Morris.
there we go. But that'll do it for us here at the Cardboard Critics Sports Card Podcast from the Hollywood Rip Studio. Thanks for watching. If you liked, don't forget we'd like to hear from you. Like, comment, and subscribe down below. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch the show. So until next time, from where the lights shine brightest here in Hollywood, California, Mr. Hollywood, Joe Nasty. You want to snap with me?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. Out.